Hi students, today we'll discuss a very interesting short story. The short story is full of suspense, conflict and violence. So today in this video, I'm going to introduce you to this very beautiful short story. The name of the story is Just Lather, That's All. It's written by Hernando Tellez. Lather is nore. Bari nore mattinnenu illa. Let's try to understand. Now, the learning objectives of the class are: you'll be able to know about the writer Hernando Tellez, and I'm also going to give you an overview. Overview is an introduction of the short story, and also I'm going to talk about the characters of the story. Now, I'm very sure that after watching this video of 10 or 15 minutes, then you'll be able to tell about the writer Hernando Tellez, and also you'll be able to tell the theme of the short story. Theme means it is subject of the short story. Let's get started. Now in the picture you're seeing, he is Hernando Tellez. He was a Colombian writer. He was a writer, he was a journalist, he was an active politician who represented Colombia as an ambassador to UNESCO. So many things he has done. Now let us try to understand the biographical details of Hernando Tellez. Now Hernando Tellez, he was born on 22nd March 1908 and he died on 1st January 1966. So he was born in a place called Bogota. It's in Colombia. He was an essayist, prabandhagara, short story writer and a journalist. ಪತ್ರಕರ್ತ ಮತ್ತು ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಟ್ಟ ಕಥೆಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆಯುವಂಥ ಒಬ್ಬ ರೈಟರ್. Then he has served as a politician in Colombian parliament and he represented as an ambassador to UNESCO. Apart from this, he has published many articles about political topics in newspapers and magazines, as we have already told that he is a journalist. Now, this particular story of ours was published in 1950 in a short story collection called Ashes for the Wind. Originally, this was written in Spanish language and the title was Cenizas para el Veneto. And when this was translated into English, the title became Ashes for the Wind. And our short story among this collection is a very famous short story. And in many American colleges, this is introduced to them for the students who are studying Spanish. Now, what is the beauty of this writer Hernando Tellez? He very beautifully expresses the contemporary life realities of Colombia. What's happening when he was living? The reality. The same thing he pictures in his short stories. So this is all about Hernando Tellez in a nutshell. So he was a Colombian writer, he was an essayist, journalist and a politician as well. And he represented as an ambassador to UNESCO, and also he has written many political articles and essays. So, and this story of ours is a very famous short story of Hernando Tellez, Just Lather, That's All. Now the introduction of the short story, an overview. This short story was published in 1950. And then where it is set? It is set in a barber shop. Barber shop means it is a cutting shop. This was set in a cutting shop. I hope this is clear. And then what's the background? If you understand the background, then it will be very easy for us to understand the story. Now there was a Colombian leader called George Elisi Gelton. He was a leader of Colombia and he was killed in 1948, and the whole issue starts from here. ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಇವ್ರು ಸತ್ತೋಗ್ತಾರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಪಂಗಡಗಳಾಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತವೆ. One which is for the government and one which is against the government. So there is a fight between liberals and conservatives. ಇವ್ರ ನಡುವೆ ಫೈಟ್ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿನ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ? ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ 10 ವರ್ಷ, 1 ಡೆಕೇಡ್ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. So on this background itself the story is set. So there is a fight between for the people who support the government and for the people who are against the government. Now what is the point of view? Who is telling this short story? The short story is told by the barber. ಆ ಕತೆ ನಿರೂಪಕ ಯಾರು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಬಾರ್ಬರ್. ಅವನು ಯಾವ ಆ್ಯಂಗಲಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಯೂಸಸ್ ಐ, ಹಿ. ಅವನು ತನ್ನ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವ್ಯೂಯಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಮತ್ತು ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಶೋನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಈಸ್ ದ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬಾರ್ಬರ್. ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಮೈಂಡಲ್ಲಿ. ಹಿ ಥಿಂಕ್ಸ್ whether to kill the captain or whether to let him free. So there is a conflict in his mind. Now liberals means ಉದಾರವಾದಿಗಳು, then conservative means ಸಂಪ್ರದಾಯವಾದಿಗಳು. ಸೊ ಇವ್ರ ನಡುವೆ ತುಂಬ ಫೈಟ್ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಥೆಯನ್ನು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ವಾಸ್ ರಿಟನ್ ಇನ್ 1950 and it goes on in a barber shop. Now let's try to understand the characters. The short story is very simple. As I've already told you, only there are two characters. ಬರೀ ಎರಡೇ characters ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. The first character is the barber. Barber is a person who does cutting and shaving. Okay, and the second character is Captain Tellez. Now let's try to understand about them. Now the barber is the protagonist. Protagonist is the main character. He is a narrator. ಅವನೇ ಕಥೆಯನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾರು ಇವನು? ಆ ಟೌನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾರ್ಬರ್ ಅವನು. ಒಂದು ಕಟಿಂಗ್ ಶಾಪ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ಅದು ಕಣ್ ತೋರ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಬಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅವ್ನು ಏನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಿಬಲ್ಸ್. ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಐವ್ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಯು ದಟ್ ದೇರ್ ವರ್ ಟೂ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್, ಒನ್ ಹೂ ಸಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್ ದ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಹೂ ವರ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಇವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನನ್ನು ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಟೂ ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್. ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ತೋರ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬಾರ್ಬರ್ ಶಾಪ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬಾರ್ಬರ್ ಶಾಪ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅವನೊಂದು ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಹಿಮ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಟನ್ ಟಾರಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಆ್ಯನ್ ಎನಿಮಿ. ಓಕೆ, ನೌ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್? ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಟನ್ ಟಾರಸ್, he comes to his barber shop one day for shave. Okay, and this Captain Tellez is the enemy of Mr. Barber. Why? Because against him itself the barber is telling the information and he is passing the information to the rebels. ಸೊ ಇವನ ಶತ್ರು. ಅವನು ಒಂದಿನ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವ್ನು ಯಾವಾಗ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಕಾಟ್ 14 ರೆಬಲ್ಸ್. ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋಲಿ ನೋಡೋಣ. 14 ಜನ ವಿದ್ರೋಹಿಗಳನ್ನು ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜನರನ್ನು ಸಾಯಿಸಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜನರನ್ನ ಬದುಕಿದ್ದಾಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಬಂದಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವನು ಆವಾಗ ಶೇವಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಟನ್ ಟಾರಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ವಾಯ್ಲೆಂಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್. ತುಂಬ ಕ್ರೂರಿ ಇವನು. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಇವನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ರೆಬಲ್ಸನ್ನು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಬಿಡ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ. ವಾಟ್ ಈ ಡಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಹಿ ಮೇಕ್ಸ್ ದ ಡೆಡ್ ಬಾಡಿ ನೇಕೆಡ್, ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಸ್ ದೆಮ್ ದ ಡೆಡ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಸ್ ಶೂಟಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಡೆಡ್ ಬಾಡಿ so that he exhibits everywhere. So such kind of a violent and cruel person he is. He one day comes to the barber shop. So there are two characters, the barber and Captain Tellez. Now what are the themes? Now I'm just going to talk about 3 themes here. One is the duty. Now duty andre kartavya. Now we see the barber here, the cutting man, he does his duty sincerely. As a cutting man, he does his like as a teacher, I do my duty sincerely by teaching students. As students, you are sincere in attending the classes and learning whatever we teach you. So hage avun kelsavanna avun sincere agi ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ. Then he is proud of his work. He thinks that he is perfect in whatever work he does. So he says, you came to me for a shave and I perform my work honorably. ಇದೊಂದು ಡೈಲಾಗ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ನೀನು ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಶೇವ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀಯಾ, ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಡೂ ಮೈ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಆನರಬಲಿ. ದೆನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಟನ್ ಟಾರಸ್ he also performs his duty of punishing the rebels. So both are doing their duty. So duty is one of the main themes of the short story. Now the second theme is violence. Violence means himse. Now Captain Tellez, what he does is, when he brings the rebels, he punishes them. Punishes like how? He takes their naked body, and what they do target practice on certain parts of their body. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಎಕ್ಸಿಬಿಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಎಕ್ಸಿಬಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಊರು ಜನರ ಮುಂದೆ ಅವರು ಸತ್ತ ದೇಹಕ್ಕೆ, ಮೃತ ದೇಹಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ನು ಶೂಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ he exhibits. So in that way he shows his cruelty. Maybe that's a warning. If you become a rebel or if you become an informer, this will be your condition. So ಆ ಥರ ಹಿಂಸೆನ ಕೊಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ. So violence. So there's a dialogue here by Barber. A man of imagination, because who else would have thought of hanging a naked rebel and then holding target practice on certain parts of their bodies? So the Barber is thinking. So this man is certainly a cruel man. He's a brutal man. Why? Because he hangs the dead body of the rebels and he does shooting practice on them. So another main theme of the short story is violence. First was duty. Now the other the main theme is conflict. Conflict andre sangarsha. Now where is the conflict going on? The conflict is going on in the mind of the Barber. ಅವನ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲೇ ಒಂದು ಸಂಘರ್ಷ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಏನು ಸಂಘರ್ಷ? ವೆದರ್ ಟು ಕಿಲ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಟನ್ ಹೂ ಇಸ್ ಅನ್ಆರ್ಮ್ಡ್, ಹೂ ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದ ಬಾರ್ಬರ್. ಅವ್ನ ಮನ್ಸು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅವನ ಹತ್ರ ಶೇವಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಲೇಡ್ ಇದೆ, ಆ ಬ್ಲೇಡಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಕತ್ತನ್ನು ಕುಯ್ದು ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಶುಡ್ ಐ ಕಿಲ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಟನ್ ಆರ್ ಲೆಟ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಗೋ? ಸೊ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಕಾನ್ಫ್ಲಿಕ್ಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್. ನಾ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿಸ್, in the background also conflict is going on. A conflict is going on in the background between the government and the rebels. So these three important points are the themes of the novel. One is duty, the another one is violence, the other one is conflict. Now in today's class what we learned is, we learned that the story is set on a hot day in a barber shop, which I'm going to talk in the next class. I'll come up with a detailed summary. Captain Tellez has come for a shave. The barber was sharpening a razor. So the barber was doing his job of sharpening the razor. So you just remember, it's a sharp razor. Then the captain is an enemy of the barber. The story is about the decision taken by the barber whether to kill the captain or just live him. So that decision itself decides the whole thing. So that is all about the short story. Now that the story is full of suspense. We don't know what he does, the barber, and reflects the inside of barber's mind. So what all is going on in barber's mind, that is reflected in the short story. So with this I'll stop the introduction class. In next 2 videos I'm going to discuss the summary of the short story. Thank you very much for joining.